Welcome to Code with Vinay. In this video, I'll be walking you through the 2D array pattern question which was asked in the ISC Specimen Paper of 2016. Let's have a look at the question first. The question says, given a square matrix M of order n, the maximum value of n is 10, and then we have to enter 3 characters from the keyboard, and the idea is, just see the example, when the size is 4 and the first character is asterisk, second character is question mark, and the third character is hash. If you notice, the array, or rather the 2D array, is of size 4 by 4, that is it's a square array, and the region above the diagonal and below the diagonal is filled with asterisks. The region to the left and right of the diagonal is filled with question mark, and both the diagonals themselves are filled with hash. That's the basic idea of the question. Now if you move on to the next question, the same thing is done with the size 5, and here the symbols are different. We are using dollar for the region above and below the diagonal. We are using exclamation mark for the region to the left and right of the diagonals, and @ sign for the diagonals itself. I'll be doing the program in parts. That is, I won't be writing the whole program first and then running it at the end. We'll be doing it in parts so that it's easier to understand. So let's begin. We'll start with the driver function first. So I'll create a file and we'll give it a name. So I'll say ISC 2016 specimen paper.java. This file will contain a driver method, that is the main will be contained in this class. So class ISC 2016 specimen paper. Within that we'll have our main, and then since we have to enter the values from the user, we'll import the util package. Once the util package is imported, we'll create the scanner class object. So scanner in equal to new scanner, and then we'll connect it with the input stream. Now since the scanner class should ideally be closed towards the end, so we'll close it right now. We'll say in.close, and then we'll begin with our input. Let's have a look at the question once more. So the question says that first we have to display the message input itself, followed by enter size. So that is what we'll do. We'll prompt the user first. So I'll say system.out.println input, and then on the next line we'll prompt the user to enter the size, and then we'll say that okay, int, name of the variable given in the question was n, so we'll say int n is equal to in dot next int. Now they gave a range, and the range was that the maximum value of n should not be more than 10. The maximum possible value of n is 10. So we'll go over here, we'll place our check that if n is more than 10, and we can also place a check for the lower value also. So if n is less than 1 or n is more than 10, we'll display the out of range method. So out of range message is displayed, else will continue normally. Now within the else portion, what needs to be done is we have to enter the first character, second character, and third character. So I'll copy this, we'll go over here, I'll paste those messages first, and then we'll enclose it in the system.out.println. So we'll go over here, and then we'll say system.out.println the messages are displayed, and then we'll take the 3 characters. So obviously for taking the 3 characters we'll be needing 3 variables. So now what I'll do, I'll declare those 3 variables. I'll say, let's declare it over here at the top. I'll say char ch1 comma ch2 comma ch3. So these are the 3 characters. And then since there is nothing in Java to take a single character, we'll take a word and extract the 0th character. So ch1 is equal to in dot next, and then we'll say take out the first character, that is the 0th character, and we'll be doing the same thing for character 2, that is ch2 over here, and then we'll be doing the same thing for character 3, that is ch3 goes over here. Now once this is done, I want to write a fully object oriented program. So now what we'll do is I'll create one more class for the matrix itself. So I'll say class matrix, because that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to model a matrix, and then inside that we'll have our character array m, the size of which and will be initialized via the constructor. So we'll say public matrix, and then we'll accept the size over here int n, and then within the constructor we'll say m is equal to new char, and then we'll give the size. The size is n. Okay, so once this is done, we'll also pass the 3 characters over here. So char ch1 comma char ch2 comma char ch3, and then we'll go down over here, and here we'll do the initialization part, and I'm just holding it for a time being. The next thing which needs to be done is, that is, we come over here, and here we'll say that matrix, we'll have to create an object, so I'm calling it obj. Matrix obj is equal to new matrix, and we'll pass the things, that is n comma ch1 comma ch2 comma ch3. So we are passing all the 4 required variables via the constructor, and then we'll say obj dot display to display the matrix. So this is showing an error right now because those methods are not defined. So we'll go at the top, and I'll say public void display, and then as usual for the display we'll take 2 loops. The outer loop will be running for the rows, the inner loop will be running for the columns. So for int row is equal to 0, row is less than m dot length, and then we'll say row plus plus. So this will change the value of the variable row from 0 till the maximum number of row in the array, and that will be followed by int call is equal to 0, call is less than m dot length. Remember, it was a square array, and then we'll say call plus plus, and then I'll display the element. We'll say system.out.print, not println, and I'll say m of row column, and once that is done, we'll display the println from here so that the line is changed. Now this is the broad outline of the program. Now since I'll be running this program several times, I don't want to enter this data again and again. So what I'll do is I'll just comment out the entire section which is dealing with the input like this, and then we'll just directly do the required job. We'll say this, and then we'll say obj dot display, and instead of these variables we'll pass the actual value. So let's take the first case over here, or let's take the, okay, we'll take the first case. The input size is 4 and the characters are asterisk, question mark and hash. So we'll go over here, size is 4, first character is asterisk, second character is question mark, and third character is hash. So right now if I run the program, I can directly do the needful. Now since we haven't initialized the array right now, if I try to print it, obviously nothing is going to be printed. Let's check it out. So if I run this program, there we are getting a blank output. Now let us start filling up the gaps. So we'll close this output window, we'll go up, and we need to do the initialization. So the first part of the initialization will be the same. We will be requiring a loop similar to what we did in the display part. So I'll just copy paste it over here in the beginning, and then obviously we don't want to print, so I'll remove the print statement. Now, before we proceed with the actual code, we'll first try to visualize what we are trying to do, or rather what is happening. So let me bring up a diagram for you. Now, if you notice the diagram on the screen, we have a square array of size 8 by 8. And since the size is 8 by 8, the index number is from 0 to 7. So you can see the columns are labeled at the top, the rows are labeled at the left, and the highlighted portion right now is the primary diagonal. And if you notice carefully, the primary diagonal is 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, and 7, 7. That is, when row and column are same, we know that we are on the primary diagonal. So this is the first thing which we are going to code. So let's move back to the code, and then what we'll do is we'll go over here, and in order to store the character, we'll take a variable, we'll call it char ch. And for the purpose of testing, we'll say that ch is equal to space initially, and then we'll begin the test. We'll say that if row equals column. Now remember, if row is equal to column 0, 0, 1, 1, and so on, it means that we are on the diagonal. So if that is the case, our character should be ch3. Now, just to recall, if you go in to the question, the third character is actually being used for the diagonal. So we'll go over here, and let me make it full screen, and we'll say that ch is equal to ch3. And then once this is done, we'll transfer this value into the array is equal to ch. So right now, if I run the program, it should work for the primary diagonal. So let's run it and see whether it is working for the primary diagonal or not. So if I run the program right now, there we are getting the primary diagonal made up of hashes. Now let us move on to the next stage, which is the secondary diagonal. Now if you notice the secondary diagonal is this 0, 7, 1, 6, 2, 5, 3, 4, 4, 3, 5, 2, 6, 1, and 7, 0. Now if you try to see the relationship, we are starting from the column 7. The size of the array, that is m dot length, is 8. And this is starting from 7, that is m dot length minus 1. And row is same as the primary diagonal. Here the row is 0, here also the row is 0, here the row is 1, here also the row is 1. What is happening is that the second column is going back. So what is increasing is column, and we are going back from the maximum value. So the proper way of doing it is, if row is equal to the length of the array minus 1 minus the column, then in that case we are going on the secondary diagonal. Let's try to code it now. So let me move this out of the way, and then we'll go to the diagonal position, and then we'll say row equal to n minus 1 minus column. Now notice what is happening. If it's the primary diagonal or it is the secondary diagonal, then we are using ch3 for the character. So if I run the program once more, let's run the program. So now you can see we have the primary diagonal as well as the secondary diagonal. Now we have to handle the area on the left of the diagonal and the area to the right of the diagonal. So let's begin. So first I'll clear the screen for simplicity. We'll close the output window, and then we'll go to the next part. We'll say else if. And before we can proceed, let's bring the diagram back. So here comes the diagram. And if you notice the diagram, let me center it. Now we are interested in the region below the primary diagonal. Let me highlight it for you. So if you notice the region below the diagonal, what is special is that the value of row is more than the value of column. Notice 1, 0, 3, 1, 4, 2, 5, 2. In all these things, the common thing is that the row is more than the column. So let me color this first. So we'll say that, okay, this is the primary diagonal. I'll also color the secondary diagonal. And let's say the secondary diagonal is with a different color. Let's say blue. and we'll again move it out of the way. We'll get the code. So we come over here and I'll say if row is more than column, we'll say that the character is equal to ch. Let me check what it was. The region left was the question mark, that is ch2. So we'll say ch2 over here. Now when we'll run the program, it will not be what we want, but it will be very near of what we want. So if you run it again, there we are getting the question marks to the left, but we are also getting the question mark at the bottom. Now we are not interested in that region which is below both the diagonals, that is this region. So what we'll do is we need a way by which we can eliminate this portion. And before we do it, let me bring back the diagram again. So we are getting the lower region of the diagonal and we want to eliminate this. So let us see how we can eliminate this. So the way to eliminate this is we want this region, but we want it till the secondary diagonal. And if you recall, secondary diagonal was n minus 1 minus col. So what we'll do is, let's try to code this. So up till now, the region to the left of the diagonal was row is more than col, and it was basically the region to the left as well as below, and we want to eliminate the lower portion. So we'll say and we want to print only when row is less than n minus 1 minus column. And now if I run this code once more, see what happens. We are getting the question marks to the left. Now we need to do the same thing on the right hand side as well. And for the right hand portion, what we'll do is we'll just take this condition and we'll just reverse it. So I'll paste it over here. I'll say this, or we'll paste the condition again and we'll simply reverse it. We'll say row is less than column and row is more than the diagonal. And let's run it once more to see what happens. And there you are, we are getting the question mark on the left hand side, and we are getting the question mark on the right hand side. Now we have to handle the region above the diagonal and the region below the diagonal, and that is fairly simple. What we'll do is we'll just have an else portion, and in else we'll say ch is equal to, and the only character left is ch1. And since this was for testing, we'll remove this. And now if we run the program, we are getting our required output. So that's all for the day. If you have any doubts, do feel free to post your doubts in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer it. Thank you. Your feedback is valuable to me. I want to make sure that my videos are clear and helpful. If you have any questions or suggestions for improvement, please don't hesitate to leave a comment or send me a message.